Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloko Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloko Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasurasena Mahaprabhu ki Gita Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Diramarjanado Shri Vigrahara Yuktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatopi Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidhashi Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shiradikama Vabayara Para Madhura Leela Gunarupanamna Shiradikama Madhura Leela Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Swa Dhanalulupasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ne kunjayuno Ratikerisidhyai Jayali Bheri Jukti Apekshaneya Ne kunjayuno Ratikerisidhyai Jayali Bheri Tatra Tidakya Patibalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Patibalavasya Sajjadaritena Shamasta Shastre Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sadhave Kintu Pravarja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasadam Sadhu Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Dayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Charanara Vrindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Nirvishesha Shunavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariyaraye Namah, Krishna Jadavaye Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Namah, Gopal Govindaram Srimadhusudam, Giridhari Gopina Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Bol. Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhi. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra, Jaya Jagannath, Baladeva, Subhadrama, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Sitaram, Nittai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Nitai, Gaura Pramanande, Haribo. Jaya Vishwapara Paramita Prabha, Jakachari Sukharvi Sishimad, Divan Grace, Abhoch Ravina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapakachara Vaishnava Siramani, Paritpavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Gurya Guru Varga Patitudhari Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhakti Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai, Jayananta Kuj Vaishnavindi Ki Jai, Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Pramanam Sankirtana Janaka Prema Purushottam Shri Sachinanda Shman Guranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavranavatar Ki Purkira Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jayaga Ki Jugadharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Ganga translated book distribution Seva Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopukutna Radha Kund Samakund Giriraj Govardhan Ki Shri Brajavum Vrindavan Mathurudam Ki Their Lordship Shri Radha Madhava Ki Shri Maya Purnavati Deka Chakradam Ki Parama Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Ram Ki Shri Jagannath Swami Baladevi Prabhu Smaspadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kari Shingare Bhagavan Ki Jai Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Mathura Dharani Ki Jai Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Nitai Gura Di Pramana All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Daine. Hiranyakashipur Vakshaha. Shilatangkalakalaye. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimho. Yeto Yamikato Narsimha. Bahe Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho. Narsimhamadim Charanam Prapade. Tava Karakamalavari Naka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jayo Narasimhadev, Jayo Narasimhadev, Jayo Narasimhadev, Jayo Narasimhadev. Jayo Bhakta Prahlad, Jayo Bhakta Prahlad, Jayo Bhakta Prahlad, Jayo Bhakta Prahlad. Jayo Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilase Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilase જે તો મારા શરણ લય તારા વાંછા પૂરણ હોય. કૃપા કરી કરો તારે વૃંદાવન વાસી. મોરા એયા ભીલાસ ભીલાસ કુંજે દિયો બાસ. નયને હરિવો સદા જુગલ રૂપ રાસી. એ નિવેદાના ધારા સાખેરનું ગત કર. સેવાધિકાર દિયે કરો નિજ દાસી. વિના કૃષ્ણ દાસે કોઈ જેન મોર હોય. શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદ પ્રેમે સદા જેન ભાસી. શ્રી રાધા ગોવિંદ પ્રેમે સદા જેન ભાસી. નામો નમઃ તુલસી કૃષ્ણ પ્રેયસી. નામો નમઃ यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे. यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे. यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी निताई गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल निताई गौरा हरि बोल वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
Jai. Mahaprabhu Shikhir's Kam Ki Jai. Teto Darpanamajanam Bhava Mahadava Nirvapanam Shriyakariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Punamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakarivaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Itadrushitava Krupaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam idrishamya jananuraga Trinadapi sunichena Tarorapi saishnuna Amanina manadena Kirtaniya sada hari Nadhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitam vajagarishaka maye Mama janmane janmaneshwari Bhavatar bhakti rahaitu ki tvayi Ainandatanu jakinkaram Paritamam Visameva Bambudo Kripaya Tava Pankaj Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galora Shudaraya Vadanam Gadagadaya Gira Pulakairin Chitamba Pukada Tavanam Grahane Bhavisati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakrisa Prabhusa Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Asli Shava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanar Mahatam Karotuva Jatadathava Vidadatulam Patu Mat Pranatastu Saivana Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shekhastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavadana Krishna Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire condition of life with repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested your transcendental energies. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enabled us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself a lord and strolling the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death.
Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me.
He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Saksastakam Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Sutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Smakt. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pachani Nirvisesis Nirvai.
There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1.
To blaspheme
devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of the demigods, the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahman, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activities or karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10.
Do not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter.
It also understands to be retentive for chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against the 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema.
Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires very well, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa tarabhyascha kripa sindhu bhebhacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Strapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Jitaha Pachkalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Rupa Nita Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shri Vasavanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasidanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padam Bhajayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virbhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhukumashi Jaganatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guritrase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktatam Namami Bhakta Saktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Bhakta Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Surator Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsavasva Padambojo Radha Madan Mohano Divyadvindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasaran Bivam Siva Tatatastita Karsan Venus Vanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestunam Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vrite Susurabir Abhipaliyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambrama Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kvanantam Aravinda Devilai Saksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamadya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribangalalita Niyata Prakasam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Rasna Pratibha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedesu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tattve Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagadanda Koti Yashchakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Marajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha Suktaryameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Taya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sade Yesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatistan Nana Avataram Akarod Bhufani Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagaranda Koti Koti Svasesu Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahman Niskalam Anantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Jai Gunya Tad Visaya Veda Vitaya Manam Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Ya Pranilam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Jayasram Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Mahesu Haridama Sutesu Tesu Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Yena Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Sristi Stati Pralaya Sadhana Saktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vivarti Durga Ichana Rupam Apiyasya Chachestate Sa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahita Tapritakasti Heto Yasambhutam Apitata Samapaiti Karyat Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Deeparchadeva Hita Santalamabhyapetya Deepayate Vivita Hetu Sanamana Dharma Yastadrigeva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Mananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupa Adhara Saktam Avalambya Param Swamurtim Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamatavalamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadanda Nata Vishnur Mahansahi Yasya Kalavishesha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesu Nijesu Teja Swiyam Kiyat Prakatayat Apitadvadatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Twande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantu Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Maruti Sascha Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yas Chaksuresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Papa Nichaya Sutayastapamsi Brahma Dikita Patagava Tayascha Jivaha Yadata Mata Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrindra Gopa Matavendra Mahoswakarma Bandhan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintucha Bhakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayati Bitti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaura Vasevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadrasim Tanamaparete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiyakanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpatarabo Jumabhumis Jumalamani Ganama Itoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriya Saki Chidanandam Jati Param Apitad Aswadyam Apicha Sayatra Siradi Bihi Shavati Sirabi Vyascha Sumahan Nime Sardakyuva Rajati Nahiya Trapisamaya Bhaje Sweta Dvipam Tamaham Ihil Golakamitiyam Vidantas Te Santaksiti Virala Charakatipaye Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Shri Guru Vastaka Prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Street as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisances unto Lotus Feet as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I should always offer respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise this spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Verse 45 again. Nasyakarmani janmado parasyanu vidiyate karchitva pratisedartam mayaya rupitam hitat. Na, never, asya, of the creation, karmani, in the matter of, janma ado, creation and destruction, parasya, of the supreme, Anuvidyate. It is so described. Kartritva, engineering. Pratiseda, artam, counteract. Maya, by the external energy. Aropitam, is manifested. He, for, Tat, the creator. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic direction for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world is this. Yatova imani bhutani jayante. Yena jatani jivanti. Yat prayanti samvissanti. That is, everything is created by Brahman. After creation, everything is maintained by Brahman. And after annihilation, everything is conserved in Brahman. Gross materialists, without any knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan, conclude material nature to be the ultimate cause of the material manifestation. And the modern scientist also shares this view that the material nature is the ultimate cause of all the manifestations in the material world. This view is refuted by all Vedic literature. The Vedanta philosophy mentions that Brahman is the fountainhead of all creation, maintenance, and destruction. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentation on Vedanta philosophy, says, Janmadasya yato niviyad itaratas chartesu avigyaswara. Inert matter is undoubtedly energy with potential to interact, but it has no initiative of its own. Srimad Bhagavatam therefore comments on the aphorism Janmadhyasya by saying abhigyana and swarat. The Supreme Brahman is not inert matter, but he is supreme consciousness and is independent. Therefore, inert matter cannot be the ultimate cause of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world. Superficially, material nature appears to be the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction, but material nature is set into motion for creation by the Supreme Conscious Being, the Personality God. He is the background of all creation, maintenance, and destruction, and this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Mayadakshena Prakriti Suyatesa Charachanam Hituna Nena Konteya Jagat Viparivartate. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, and she can work under the direction of the Lord, Adyakshena. When the Lord throws his transcendental glance over the material nature, then only can the material nature act, as a father contacts the mother, who is then able to conceive a child. Although it appears to the layman that the mother gives birth to the child, the experienced man knows that the father gives birth to the child. The material nature, therefore, produces the moving and standing manifestations of the material world after being contacted by the Supreme Father, and not independently. Considering the material nature to be the cause of creation, the maintenance, etc., is called the logic of the nipples on the neck of a goat. The Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadasa Kaviraj Goswami describes the logic of Aja Galasthana Nyaya as follows, as explained by His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The material nature as the material cause is known as pradhana, and as efficient cause is known as maya, But since it is inert matter, it is not the remote cause of creation. Kaviraja Goswami states as follows: Ateva Krishna Mula Jagat Karana Prakriti Karana Yache Ajagalastana. Because Karanadakshay Vishnu is a plenary part expansion of Krishna, it is he who electrifies the matter to put it in motion. The example of the example of electrification is quite appropriate. A piece of iron is certainly not fire, but when the iron is made red hot, certainly it has the quality of fire through its burning capacity. Matter is compared to the piece of iron, and it is electrified or made red hot by the glance or manipulation of the supreme consciousness of Vishnu. Only by such electrification is the energy of matter displayed in various actions and reactions. Therefore, the inert matter is neither efficient nor the material cause of the cosmic manifestation. Sri Kapiladev has said, Yatol Mukhat Vispulingad Drumad Vapi Swasambhavad Apyat Mat Vainabim Matad Yatagni Pritag Ul Mukhat. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.28.40. The original fire, its flame, its sparks, and its smoke are all one, for fire is still fire, yet is different from the flame. Flame is different from sparks, and sparks are different from the smoke. In every one of them, namely in the flames, in the sparks, and in the smoke, the integrity of fire is present, yet all of them are differently situated with different positions. The cosmic manifestation is compared to the smoke because when smoke passes over the sky, so many forms appear, resembling many known and unknown manifestations. The sparks are compared to living entity, and the flames are compared to modern nature, pradhana. One must know that each and every one of them is effective simply because of being empowered by the quality of the original fire. Therefore, all of them, namely the material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities, are but different energies of the Lord, fire. Therefore, those who accept the material nature as the cosmic manifestation's original cause, Prakriti, the cause of creation according to Sankhya philosophy, are not correct in their conclusion. The material nature has no separate existence without the Lord. Therefore, setting aside the Supreme Lord as the cause of all causes is the logic of Ajagala Sthana Nyaya, or trying to milk the nipples on the neck of a goat. The nipples on the neck of a goat may seem like sources of milk, but to try and get milk from such nipples will be foolish. Shai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Well, this is the dilemma that we're in, because all the propaganda today, in the schools and all the social media and the philosophers and the scientists, it's a very interesting thing. The scientists make weapons of mass destruction, and the IT people make weapons of mass distraction. You put those two together, and it ruins people's lives. Mass destruction, of course, and mass distraction. So we should remember this. These two types of people are actually ruining the culture of the world, from Krishna consciousness to material consciousness, because they're weaponizing things like social media, and they're weaponizing things like weapons. Okay, so in a very interesting lecture by Srila Prabhupada, which he gave on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 7th Chapter, 18th verse. And when did he lecture? Well, I'm not sure. Okay. But anyway, in this lecture, he says some very interesting things. He says the distinction between an advanced devotee and an ordinary man. What is that? Well, he gives the example of Prahlad Maharaj and Ambarish Maharaj. So, Ambarish Maharaj was cursed, and an attempt was made to kill him by Durvasa Muni. Now, Ambarish Maharaj was a devotee, and he was unnecessarily harassed by this Durvasa Muni, who was like envious of him. So, but because Ambarish Maharaj was a devotee, and a pure devotee, and very advanced, he was not afraid of Durvasa Muni and what he was trying to do. He was not afraid. And then Prahlad Maharaj, he's only a 5-year-old boy, and his father is the ruler. Hiranyakashipu is the ruler of the whole universe. He's defeated the Devas. And everyone was afraid of him. If he raised his eyebrow, people would almost faint out of fright. Right? And he tried to kill his son in many different ways. Prahlad was not afraid at all. He's only a 5-year-old kid. Why is that? So we have to learn why that is. That is that Narayana parasarve nakutas chana bibyate. Sarga sarva paranga narakeshu apitulyatra darsinaha. This is a very important verse because it says that a person who is worshiping Lord Narayana and is under the protection of the Lord is not afraid of anything in the material world. He is Narayana para sarve. He's protected in all different situations. And he has this firm faith. So he is Narayana para. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, 17th Chapter, 18th verse. He's never afraid, even though death is coming. But he knows after giving up the body, he'll go back to Godhead. Dhiras tatra namuyati. He's dhira. He's not affected by these things. And he knows that on giving up this body, dehinosmin yata dehi komaran yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyate. He's a dhira. He's not affected by material nature. Whereas Brahma once was chased by Lord Shiva because he was trying to defile his own daughter. And when Lord Shiva started chasing him, Brahma became afraid. Right? And also, when Durvasa Muni was being chased by the chakra of Lord Krishna, he became afraid. He started running as fast as he could. But the real devotees are Narayana para. They're not afraid. People are afraid when they do something wrong, and then they're being pursued, let's say by the police or someone. They become afraid and they start running away. But if you never do anything wrong, you're always engaged in Krishna consciousness. You have nothing to be afraid of, even if you're falsely accused of something. Even if you're falsely accused. You're not afraid because you know you didn't do anything wrong. And you're always protected by the mercy of Krishna. You have to have that conviction. So, therefore, the distinction between an advanced devotee and an ordinary man is this dhiras tatra namuyate. They are dhira. They're not affected by whatever happens in this material world. Whatever good or bad happens, they're not affected by it. Why? Because they continue their devotional service. Waking up early, chanting their rounds, coming to Mangala Aarti, hearing the class, going on Sankirtan, all these things they continue doing uninterrupted. And if they are interrupted, let's say they're put into jail, for example, for some reason or other, right? Then they do their service mentally. You cannot stop the devotee from doing service. And the devotee continues chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there's nothing, Prabhupada says, so there's nothing to be very much afraid of. But one is afraid of death, because at the time of death, the problems, the tribulations, the miserable condition of the body is very, very severe, so much severe that one does not want to continue to live. He has to give up this body. And out of disappointment, too much suffering, one commits suicide or death. So death means very, very painful, as much as birth is also very, very painful. Therefore, Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi Dukkhadoshana Darshanam. One should understand the evil of this birth and death. There's something wrong about it. It's not normal. It doesn't correspond to our nature. Our nature is to be happy, right? Anandamaya Bhyasat, that's the nature of the living entities, to be happy. So when they are harassed and troubled by different situations, it can be due to the body, it can be due to the mind, and it's not a normal condition, the suffering. It's abnormal for the human being, for the jiva. Therefore, we must seek out what is the reason. Why is this happening to us? Now, in almost all situations, it's due to previous karma. There are some exceptions, like in the case of the Pandavas. They didn't really do anything wrong. Like in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, he didn't do anything wrong, right? So Krishna sometimes uses his devotees to teach others. And in that way, we can learn by the actions of the devotee what is the right thing to do, even in the most difficult situations, such as the situation of Prahlad Maharaj or the situation of Ambarish Maharaj. Both of them did not do anything wrong. They were just subjected to terrible suffering because the only thing they did wrong in the eyes of Durvasa Muni or the eyes of Hiranyakashipu, they were devotees. That's the only, and there's nothing wrong with being a devotee. So sometimes Krishna puts his devotee in these type of situations to glorify the devotee who does not become adira, meaning afraid and impatient and basically freaks out. No, they remain steady in their determination to serve Krishna even in the worst situations. So, therefore, Prabhupada says, one who is intelligent enough, he should always keep before him the sufferings of birth, death, old age, and disease. Keep it in front. Understand, these are the real problems of life. And, in other words, birth, death, old age, and disease, they are suffering conditions. But if one is an advanced devotee, he's not afraid. He's called Narayana Para Sarve, Na Kutaschana Bibyate. Narayana Para. He's never afraid of death or anything. And that's all right. What is the wrong there? Provided he knows that after giving up the body, I am going to Krishna. So that is the verse. Matras it says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaran yovanamcha tata deham tara prapti dhiras tatra namuyati. That is, when on approaching, after leaving the body, one goes back to Godhead. So during life, one goes from, a baby to a child to an adolescent to an adult, a mature adult, to middle age, to old age, and then death. But the devotee is never bewildered by these things. He remains steady in his devotional service. Okay. And he's not afraid. Because when a person becomes afraid, they start to make decisions in a desperate state of mind, which means they're going to make many mistakes like that. One has to have a very stable mind to make the right decisions. But when one becomes afraid, they become mentally disturbed due to their fear. They'll start making mistakes, and those mistakes are usually very, very serious, and it puts them deeper into trouble. So, to become dhira, unaffected by what happens, whatever it may be, one has to have full faith that Krishna will protect him or her. One has to have that. Therefore, the dhira is not disturbed, even though there's a cause of disturbance. And one may not be disturbed when there is no cause of disturbance, just like we are not now at the present moment, we are not afraid of death. But as soon as we find that there is an earthquake, and we are afraid of this building, that this building may fall down, it becomes the cause of disturbance. Then we become very much disturbed, sometimes screaming. So one who is not disturbed, even when there is cause of disturbance, he is called dhira, unaffected by what happens. But this Krishna consciousness movement is so nice that adhira can be dhira. In other words, the people that are always affected by things going wrong and by misery, they can become dhira. We're being taught to become dhira, unaffected by the good and bad in the material world. Just like yesterday, Janavatsal says to me, with a smile, I said, when do you think the devotees will start going to Ukraine and to help the Ukrainians against the Russians? I said, why should a devotee do that? I said, there are already devotees doing that. The Ukrainian devotees, the men, the Ukrainian government is not allowing the men to leave the country. They're obliged to join the army and fight against the Russians. I said, but why would one want to do that? I said, the Ukrainians are no better than the Russians. Some people say, oh, the Ukrainians are good, the Russians are bad. No, they're both meat eaters. They're both sense gratifiers. They both are so-called Christians, but they're both are basically karmis, except for maybe the devotees in Ukraine, but the rest, they're just karmis. So why would one want to fight on one side or the other side? Right? We should just continue with our devotional service, just like the devotees in Ukraine are continuing their devotional service. Some of them have left, of course, but not everyone can leave. So the ones that are still there, there's still a lot of devotees there, they're just continuing their service. But this should be a lesson to us. Most of them have gone to farms and left the cities. There are very few devotees in the cities right now. It's too dangerous, right? So where do they go? They can't leave the country for different reasons. So they have at least 3-4 farms no, they have more than that. They have more farms than that in Ukraine. But they only have 3 big farms, and they have a whole bunch of small farms. Because, the bombs usually don't fall, are not aimed at the countryside. They're aimed at the major cities and military bases. So we should learn from what's happening in Ukraine right now. That's why right now we have 3 farms, and hopefully we'll have more. Because you have to have what's called a contingency plan. Look that word up, contingency. Contingency means you have an alternate plan in case of an emergency. We don't think that the same thing that's happening in Ukraine could never happen here. It's very easy. Don't forget, in America, there was a civil war. And the Civil War was the worst war Americans soldiers fought in. Of course, they were fighting each other, the South and the North. Over 500,000 men died in the American Civil War. That's more than any other war, even World War II, in which the American Army has fought. So that happened here, and not that long ago, about 170 years ago. So you see, don't think that things like that won't happen here. Yeah? What's it say? Contingency.
It's a plan designed to take a possible future event or circumstance into account.
There you go. So we shouldn't think that, oh no, that could never happen here. Of course it can happen here. It can happen very easily here. In fact, it almost happened here when the Black Lives Matter, they were pillaging and burning Seattle City. And they also had a demonstration here. I called up the police here, and I said, "What, are you guys going to protect us, or are you going to just stand by and watch everything burn?" They said, "No, we're going to protect you." But the police in Seattle, they just stood by while they for some time while people were burning things and breaking windows and pillaging and so forth. And of course, it happened in other cities. So the devotee is Dhira. And we are teaching the adiras, the people who get disturbed very easily by a downturn in the economy or sickness or whatever. It's just like, you remember your family, Adi Dev, got sick, right? They thought that she might have cancer, right? Were they worried? Very much, right? So it turned out, though, after a biopsy, that it might not be cancer. It didn't say it's not cancer. It said it might not be cancer. So, I mean, they should still be worried. But, the devotee is not adira. The devotee is dhira. Even if they have cancer. Like, one example is Jayananda. He had leukemia, which is a severe blood cancer. Nobody survives. Well, very few people can survive that. And he knew he was going to die. And in the last period of his life, he inherited $70,000 from his family member that died. Maybe his mother or father died also. And he inherited that money, and he got a $70,000 check. What did he do? He turned the check over to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was surprised, and Prabhupada sent the check back to him and said, "Please use this money to heal yourself." What did he do? He sent the check back again to Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, you can use it better than me." And Prabhupada was very, amazed by Jayananda's what he did. He was willing to sacrifice everything to serve Prabhupada, and he did die. And he died a glorious death. He's surrounded by devotees. They were chanting all the time, giving him Ganges water and Tulsi Mata and Tulsi Patra, and also garland of Tulsi. And he died in Los Angeles, and he was the one who started, who built the first Rath Yatra cart, and he was always on Rath Yatra. And now, when we have Rath Yatra cart, we have to put his picture. Prabhupada mandated we put his picture on the Rath Yatra cart. So we see that devotee, he was dhira. He was not affected by anything, and he was serving right up to the last moment of his life. So this movement, Prabhupada says, is how to make adhira dhira, the people who are troubled and mentally and physically, to make them untroubled, no matter what the condition of the body or the mind is, by their steady engagement in devotional service. And Prabhupada also mentions sometimes people are so much, damaged or afraid, they fall into a coma. Now, what is a coma? C-O-M-A. You want to look that up? When a person loses control of their faculties, they go into a deep sleep, and they can stay like that for years before they die. And in rare cases, they even after being in the coma for many, many years, they come out of it also. Yeah, what does it say?
Yeah, it's a state of deep unconsciousness that lasts for a prolonged or indefinite period of time, caused especially by a severe injury or illness.
Right. So there was one lady, she was in a permanent coma, and she had one nurse, a male nurse, and he, well, she's in coma, right? She's not conscious, but she's still alive, and he defiled her, and she got pregnant, and she gave birth to a baby all while she's in a coma, because you're still alive in a coma, but you're just not conscious, right? Of course, they caught that guy and they prosecuted him. It's like unacceptable. I mean, it's unbelievable that he did such a thing. But you see, now let's see what Prabhupada says about a person who's lying in a coma. He says, one is lying in the bed for weeks, 2 weeks. Life is not going. Those who are very, very sinful. So there is a great pain at the time of that. So actually, anyone who goes into a coma, what's happening? The devas are deciding what to do with this person and whether they should terminate their life because they're very sinful, or to not take them. So sometimes there's a long discussion. It can take months or years for them to come to a conclusion of whether a person should die or come back to life, come back to consciousness. So Prabhupada says, those who are very, very sinful, they can go into a state of coma. And he says, so there is great pain at the time of death. There's great pain at the time of death, and there's pain when you are diseased, and there are so many pains when you are old. The body is not strong. We suffer so many ways, especially rheumatism and indigestion, then blood pressure, headache, so many things. Therefore, one should be trained up how to become dhira. These things, disturbances, make us adhira, and we should be trained up to dhira. That is spiritual education. One has to know it. Matra sparsastu konteya sitosna sukudukadaha agamapayano nityas tamstatiksasva bharata. Bhagavad Gita 2:14. These sufferings, matra sparsa, tan matra, on account of the senses and sense perception, we suffer, and the senses are made of material nature. So one has to become above the material nature. Then he can become dhira. Otherwise, one has to remain adhira. Adhira jana priyo priya karo. Well, that's I don't know what that verse is. I have to look that up. But it's basically saying dhira dhira jana priyo priya. Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. That's the prayers to the Sadgoswamis. Nana Shastra Vikara Neka Viparo. That is the prayers to the 6 Goswamis. Right. Okay, so they are dhira jana priyo priya karo. They're not disturbed at all by whatever happens. And people are very respectful of them. Even the bad people are respectful of them because they're genuinely renounced. So, therefore, Prabhupada says, therefore the children, those who are actually dhira or Vaishnava, they should be, this education should be given to children. And what education? Not this so-called technical education or smoking education or drinking liquor education and so many rascal education. This is not education. Education means Bhagavata education, to understand God. That is wanted. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Education should be given in such a way that the student should be very, very inquisitive. Inquisitive about what? Inquisitive about Brahman, not about this body. Inquisitive about the soul. Brahman means the soul. Not about this body. The body is matter, and the spirit soul is Brahman. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now let us inquire into the nature of Brahman or the soul. This is human life. One should be inquisitive to know about spiritual life. What is spirit soul? That is the first education. But where is that education today? There is no education today. Prahlad Maharaj teaches that immediately from the beginning of life, as soon as one is 4 or 5 years old, he should be educated about Brahman, the soul. And that is called Brahma Jigyasa. This is the beginning of knowledge. That is wanted. And for him, there is no need, and for him, there is need of guru, one who is inquisitive or serious about inquiring about Brahman. He requires guru. Guru is not a fashion. Guru is necessity. Tadvigyanartam sagurum evabhigachat. The Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. Tadvigyanam. Tadvigyanam means spiritual education. Vijnanam actually is a word for scientific in Sanskrit. So Tadvigyanam, the spiritual education, is actually scientific education, the real science. For material education, there's no need of guru. Guru, of course, is required, but guru means to inquire about spiritual subject matter. Tasmat gurum papadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21. That is, that one must connect to a guru to get transcendental knowledge. Uttamam. Uttamam means udgata tamam yasmat. Tamam means darkness. This world is darkness. Everyone we know as this world is dark. And because it is dark, there is need of the sunshine. There is need of the moonshine. There is need of electricity. There is need of fire. Because it is constitutionally dark. And the Vedic injunction is tamasima jyotirgama. Don't remain in darkness. Go to the light. Jyotirgama. Go to the light. And our Chaitanya Charitamrita Kaviraj Goswami, he gives what is that light. Krishna Surya Samamaya Haya Andakara. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikara. That light is Krishna. And anything which is not Krishna, that is darkness. Krishna is everything. But to make a general division, Maya, that is Andakara. So Maya is the opposite of the light of knowledge. So we should not remain in Maya or ignorance. We should remain always in Krishna consciousness. Then our life is successful. Otherwise, we shall continue the life of darkness. Uttamam, Udgata, Tama, darkness. You have to pass over this darkness. Padam, padam, yat vipadam, naatesam. Here in the darkness, just like in the darkness, if you walk, in every step there is danger. Every step there is danger. Padam, padam, yat vipadam. But if you want to avoid this dangerous life in darkness, then you must take to Krishna consciousness. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakara. Maya is Andakara. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikara. The Surya, as soon as there is sunshine, the darkness automatically goes away. So if you keep Krishna always in view, in your brain, within your heart, Savai Manak Krishna Padara Vindayo, Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18. If you simply keep Krishna within the heart, Man Manabhava Mad Bhakto, Krishna says, Man Manabhava Mad Bhakto, then your life is success. Otherwise, in the darkness, there's always danger in every step. Padam padam yat vipadam natesam. So that's Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58. Samasritaye padapalava plavam mahat padam punya yaso murare. Bhavam buddhir vatsapadam param padam yat vipadam natesam. This is the version of Srimad Bhagavatam. Take shelter of Krishna. Samasritaye padapalava plavam. Padapalavam means the lotus feet of Krishna. Yaso Murari. Murari is Krishna. So one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, which is compared to a boat, plavam, then he has nothing to fear from this material ocean of darkness. And this place, this material world, which is darkness, and where there is danger, step by step. Padam padam yat vipadam natesam. taste some. For them, it is not for them, it is for the persons who want to remain in the darkness. And one who does not want to remain in darkness, for him, tasmat gurum prapadyeta. He has to take shelter of the bona fide guru. So this is a wonderful lecture by Prabhupada. It goes on even more. But he had a very low opinion of modern education, and he didn't want children to be educated in modern education. He wanted them to be educated in Krishna consciousness. And we shouldn't think that by full education in Krishna consciousness, which is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the child will not be competitive in society. That's a wrong conclusion. Prabhupada was competitive in society, and anybody who learns Krishna consciousness becomes very competitive in society, but competitive in the sense of wanting to do more and more wonderful things for Krishna consciousness and helping others to become Krishna conscious. So, you have an example. You have Navayogendra Maharaj, right? His whole life has been Krishna conscious, right? So, is he bereft? Is he poor? Is he living in anxiety? No, he's doing very well. He's in his 70s, but still he's traveling all over the world. He has temples in India. He has so many disciples. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be bereft if you become Krishna conscious. You're going to be actually successful because you become dhira. You're not afraid of whatever happens, and you're always focused on Krishna, and you have the respect of people also because you're following strictly the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. And you become empowered by Krishna to do wonderful things. That's the main point. You become empowered to do wonderful things, to help people become Krishna conscious, to build temples, goshalas, this thing, that thing. All these things, all wonderful things will happen by advancing in Krishna consciousness. And you don't have to worry about money. Krishna will provide whatever is necessary. And this is what's hard for people to understand. But this is what happened when people joined Krishna consciousness in the beginning, like myself. Then Prabhupada asked, now you do something wonderful for Krishna. So he asked me to open a temple in Paris. And he also asked me to translate books for Russia and other places. And I did. I translated Bhagavad Gita in Armenian. I translated 5 books in Armenian and printed them and had them distributed in Armenia. I printed books in Swahili, in Bengali, in Oriya, in Japan, and I gave the money. I translated books in Turkish and Arabic, and had them distributed also, and also supported all those different countries to print books. The first Gitar Gyan in Bengal, I gave the money for that book. I gave the money for Sadhuputa's first book about, I forget the title now. It was a very, very good book. It wasn't a book on Darwin. It was way before that. So we can do wonderful things if we become Krishna conscious. And Krishna helped me become very successful materially through my business that I started in France. So, and I had no business experience at all, other than working in my father's grocery store. But I didn't have a degree, and I didn't know anything about what do you call that? Keeping the books and things like that. However, Krishna provided so many different opportunities, So we should not be afraid, and we should not think that being educated in Krishna consciousness means we'll be a failure in life. It's not true. You see more and more successful people who have dedicated themselves to Krishna consciousness, and they gave up their educational qualification that they got in the universities. Like, for example, you have Gauranga. He walked away. You have from his educational qualifications. You have Dayaram Prabhu, who graduated IIT with honors, right? And he became a devotee, and he's done so much service. I don't know if you know Dayaram or not, but he's the president of Mayapur and Calcutta, and now he's very sick. But for a long time he was president of both, and he was the one that has protected ISKCON legally from all the cases against ISKCON by Madhu Pandit in South India. So you see, these boys have, although they were highly educated, they gave up functioning in the material world, and they became devotees and became extremely successful. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
It's just a not a question, but it's a clarification about the
Yes.
In our current verse. Prabhupada talks about the material nature and Brahma Jyoti. So are those same, like, or they are distinct, both Brahma Jyoti and material nature?
I can take the mask off first of all.
Sorry.
So
material nature and Brahma Jyoti, are those
material nature and
Brahma Jyoti
Brahma Jyoti.
or Brahman? Sorry,
Brahman. Brahman means spirit soul or spiritual. Okay, so what's the question?
No, I'm confused about these two. These distinct. They are interchangeable. We are calling material nature same because Brahman and material nature.
Okay, Brahman
used.
has different meanings. One meaning is the entire spiritual world, including Goloka.
Yeah.
Another meaning is the effulgence, Brahman effulgence, right? And another meaning is the totality of the material nature. Okay, but generally it's referring to the soul or spiritual. Generally, and
in this context, actually, it is total.
About the soul, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it has these different meanings depending on the context. Okay?
No, but here it just says that everything is created. I mean,
everything is what?
Everything created from Brahman. So,
well, everything is created from. When it says that, it means that Krishna and Balaram and the first Chaturvyuha and Narayana and the second Chaturvyuha and then the Vishnu incarnations, and that's what it means.
Okay.
It's all coming from Krishna originally. When it says everything is created from Brahman, Brahman is referring to Krishna and all his expansions.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right. Then we shall have Guru Puja. And Sharan is going to sing.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma
Vandamoi Savadana Mate
Mando Mui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasadeva Eva Vatoriya
Janara Prasadevai Eva Vatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoy Te
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Shite Te Koriya Aikya Arana Kori Homa Neha Sha
Arana Koriya Maneya Sa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Sha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Sa
Chakshutan Dilo Jai Janmen Re Prabhu Sai
Lakshidana Nila Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Se
Divyajnane Te Prakasito
Divya Gyanti De Prakasito
Prema Bhakti Jaha Te Avidya Vinasha Jate
Prema Bhakti Jahate Avidya Vidmasa Jate
Te Jahara Charito
Vedegaya Janara Charito
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Narabandhu
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhana Janara Bandhu
Lokenath Lokera Jivana
Lokenath Lokera Jivana
Aha Prabhu Koro Doya Deham Re Pada Chaya
Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya
Eve Shadre Puva
Elias Sakti Bhuvana
Prabhupada Patita Pavana
Patita Pavana
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Kristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Dishatarine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Dishatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada.
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva
Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva.
Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo
Jai Guru Haribo, 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 Jai Guru Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajikachastata Satra Shri Shri Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Amacharya Sil Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sukho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees. 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 All glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhakti Smriti Bhakti Smriti Bhakti Smriti. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and Lord and master. Oh, oh Master, be merciful. Yes. Srila Prabhupada ki